you, Miss. But you got many that come here week after week. Miss Adrian, Finance Committee, don't be on time. You got many that come to the full council, don't be on time. If I had a job like that, the good white man would fire me. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Brother Muhammad. Matthew Cardinale.
Hi, everybody. Matthew Cardinale, news editor of AtlantaProgressiveNews.com. Ms. Moore, I just wanted to start out by saying I was so proud of you during the pension debate. And, you know, I think that your constituents know you very well. I think that those of us who come down here know that you work very hard and are independent. And I was so happy that the rest of the city got the opportunity to see that a little bit more clearly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, y'all remember the wish list, right? Citizens' wish list. Wanted to get back to that. Now, Ms. Moore, you had actually, going back, you had asked for citizen input on priorities for this committee. And we talked about this a little bit where I was kind of wondering what was ever going to happen with the input in the wish list. And I know you said, you know, just because you recommend something doesn't mean that we're going to do it. But I was wondering if there had been any process by which my input or any other input you received had been considered or will be considered.
The same as before you put your recommendations before us, and I don't remember exactly what all those lists were, but if any of them were things that the council members on this committee or council members outside of this committee wanted to proffer or move forward, then they would make the next step to do that. And so to the extent that that hasn't happened, that's the extent to which we've responded. Okay,
but it's not like, now everybody, let's sit down and consider all the input that we have. Like
everybody has your list and was aware of it, and to the extent that nothing has occurred or has occurred as a response to that is all that's going to happen.
I see. Okay. Well, so let's get back to retreats, city council retreats, which, as you know, I would like for city council retreats to be videotaped. They do need to be videotaped. As far as I can see, they're one of the only council meetings that are not videotaped. The full council meetings are videotaped, committee meetings are videotaped. Work sessions, public hearings. So we still have the retreats. The reason to videotape the retreats is the same reason that you videotape all the other meetings. And obviously, it's because we can't expect that everyone is going to have the time to come down here. I mean, we have people who work, we have people who are disabled, and, you know, can't be chasing you all around the city, Botanical Garden and, you know, all of that. So I just think that the same reason that you would videotape all these other meetings is the reason that you would videotape a retreat, to make them accessible. I actually wanted to ask, I mean, what is really the purpose, Ms. Moore, of having a retreat? I mean, what is the purpose of holding a meeting off-site when the taxpayers have built you this beautiful building, City Hall?
First of all, our code requires that we have a couple of retreats a year. Retreats are used in this body and other legislative, elected bodies and non-elected bodies for us to sit and in an informal setting and to discuss issues and operations, et cetera. So the purpose is no different than any other. We set out an agenda that is publicly noticed so that people know what we're discussing, and we discuss those issues. Okay. And the last retreat was very well attended by members of the public, employees, et cetera.
Okay, well, that's great. Unfortunately, I wanted to make it. I couldn't make it. I had some work being done at my house, and I'm a little disappointed there's no video to watch. Now, during the pension debate, several council members, especially Michael Julian Bond, talked about the spirit of the retreat. There was also talk about a gentleman's agreement that the two proposals would be looked at side by side. And at one point, Michael Julian Bond said, we need to get back to the spirit of the retreat, and we've gotten away from the spirit of the retreat, and maybe we need to have another retreat, is what he said. And, you know, I like Michael very much, but when I heard a comment like that, it just made me sick. What is the spirit of the retreat? How is the spirit of the retreat different from the spirit of the council meeting? Why is the spirit of the retreat different from the spirit of the council meeting? I mean, was it like a revival? Is it like the Father, the Son, and the Spirit of the retreat? You all said that it's an open meeting and that it's advertised, and I agree with you. I'm not arguing that there's a violation of the law by not videotaping retreats. I just think that it's something that should be done. And the main difference that I see between the spirit of the retreat and the spirit of the council meetings is that they're not videotaped, and that's what has to change. As you know, I took issue with an unrecorded vote that was conducted at the February 2010 retreat. And I'm not going to get into that here because it's going before the Georgia Supreme Court. But I've had several committee members say to me, well, you could have been there. You could have been there, you should have been there. If you had been there, you would have seen what happened. And the reason that I think that that's disingenuous is that it's obvious from Michael Julian Bond's remark that the retreats are a special setting where, with their own spirit, for the very fact that they're out of public view. So, y'all can say as much as you want, you could have been there, you should have been there, but I think in reality, you don't want us there. And that's why you have a retreat. You may talk about the cost of videotaping, but I would say my council member just took $20,000 from his office budget to give to Piedmont Park. That could have paid for videotaping. And all the thousands of dollars that you all have spent fighting my lawsuit over the unrecorded vote also could have been spent videotaping the retreat. And if that retreat had been videotaped, there never would have even been a lawsuit, because we could have seen what happened even if we weren't there. So I just, that's all that I have to say on that matter. Is there any member of the committee who would even be willing to consider videotaping the retreat in the future? Well, I'm just, I'm sure.
We hear your request, Mr. Cardinale, and we'll just have to take it under advisement. The places that we have are not necessarily having videotape here in the committee room is easier because we are here and we have the mics. When we have our retreats, and as you have already noted, when they're not always held at the City Hall setting, and one of the reasons why we try to have it outside of City Hall is so that we can have the full attention of council members and we don't have the distraction of being in City Hall where they may be running back and forth to their office and not being fully attentive. So all of the places that we have it is not necessarily set up to that. Your recommendation has been heard.
Thank you.
And there's, I don't know that we will do that. I would suggest that as any public meeting, the public is certainly invited to come. And as I said at the last retreat, there were several members from the public and the press that were in attendance. So,
okay. Well, that's my recommendation, and I believe strongly that there will be many candidates in 2013 who would be interested in supporting that as well. I have some more minor issues I wanted to talk about. Joanne McCrenna, we need to adverse. Y'all know about the investigative reporting that I've done, the complaints that came from DeKalb County employees. I don't think she's qualified, even in and of itself. But on top of that, the amount of complaints that there have been about her, I just think that we don't need a tainted nominee. So that's that. Rhonda Dauphin-Johnson. I really like Rhonda. She is so nice. She works very hard. I would love to sit down and have a sandwich with her sometime. But I think that if you steal, if you do something that is dishonest, I don't think a reprimand is the appropriate response. Unfortunately, I think that it should have been a lot stronger, and we probably should find a new clerk. So that would be that's just my opinion. Although I do like Rhonda personally.
and if you could please sort of wrap up. I'm trying to make sure that we get to all the members of the public and get to our council meeting.
Okay. The other item that I wanted to talk about, and this is also on the wish list, is the recommendation number 13 on the wish list, that the rules of council publication should be made available to the public at all meetings. Now, this was actually Mr. Howard's idea, and now is there actually a rules of council publication?
There's not a separate document. The rules of council have been incorporated into the Code of Ordinances.
Okay.
So you can look at online at the Code of Ordinances, which are publicly available for
Okay.
any particular rules that you may be looking for.
And the rules that you read, I think, 2 weeks ago, remarks from the public would really be the ones that would be pertinent?
It would be in the code.
Okay. Well, then the recommendation that I would make would be that those rules that are pertinent to remarks from the public would be put into a separate document and be made available. And the reason I think that is especially when you're going to be throwing people out and threatening to throw people out and all this kind of thing, that should be right in front of you. And I don't even believe that the council members fully understand the rules of council. I've had a couple people, Carla Smith and others, say to me, Claire Muller, she's not on the council anymore, but they said, there's a rule that you're not supposed to use names. Well, I read it, and that's not what it says. It says no personal attacks. It doesn't say you can't use names. So I just think that that should be available for everybody who's here.
I think that we can accommodate that. If the staff, if we can make sure that we have, maybe just keep a stack in the committee room and also in the council, any pertinent codes related to public comment.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's one item on the wish list. Okay, hey. And then last thing, I'll make this the last thing. How about that? The little interaction with Mr. Howard. I also share the concern about the audibility of the comments sometimes, and I don't know if I don't think it's on purpose. I think sometimes you just forget to turn the microphones on.
No, it was purposely.
Oh, was it?
Yes, I purposely had the mic off. He was not recognized, and so he was out of order.
No, I meant the issue was that when I think Miss Adrian made the motion to go into that, no one could hear it.
Okay.
Okay.
Miss Adrian failed to turn on her mic.
Okay, and so I just, I think that under the Open Meetings Act, the meetings need to be open, and that means we not only need to be able to see, but also hear.
But the Open Meetings Act, let's be clear, does not require for us to be on air.
That's true, but if we can't hear
But she
you.
just forgot to turn on her mic,
Okay.
and I don't think it's a major issue.
Okay, but you also threatened to throw Mr. Howard out.
Because he was out of order.
So what would be the appropriate way in the future if we can't hear the microphone to let you know? Is there a way to do that without being out of order?
He could have gone over to the staff and let us know that.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much, and I'll be back with more wish list items in the future. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shakir.